Pearson DriveRight 11th edition, Chapter 5, Lesson 5.2. Identify and predict. The identify and predict steps of the IPDE process are critical in every driving environment. These two steps begin your thinking process for every situation you encounter. With practice and experience, these steps will seem like a natural part of driving. As you search your path to identify possible problems, you will be making judgments and predictions about what conflicts may occur. Identify. The first step of the IPDE process is identify. This step involves much more than just seeing. You must know when to look, where to look, how to look, and what to look for. Any aspect of the highway transportation system, or HTS, can become a hazardous situation. This includes the roadway, your vehicle, other vehicles, or pedestrians and traffic controls. Clues you identify may cause you to change direction or speed, signal others, or perform any combination of maneuvers. The sooner you identify a possible hazard, the more time you will have to react safely. Zones. The zone control system helps you make quick and accurate use of the IPDE process by setting a standard of what to identify and what to do when you find it. A zone is one of 6 areas of space around a vehicle that is width of lane and extends as far as the driver can see, as shown in Figure 2. An open zone is space where you can drive without a restriction to your line of sight or to your intended path of travel. Your line of sight is the distance you can see ahead in the direction you are looking. Your intended path of travel is the space your vehicle will occupy. Your path of travel is directed toward the target area. The target area is the section of the roadway where the target is located in the center of your intended path, and the area to its right and left. A closed zone is a space not open to you because of a restriction in your line of sight or intended path of travel, such as a red traffic light. The sooner you identify a closed zone, the more time you have to respond. With more time, the better chance you have to achieve control of a situation by lowering the degree of risks. Searching ranges. In order to keep alert to the condition of your zones, there are 3 searching ranges that need to be evaluated, as shown in Figure 3. A searching range is a certain distance ahead of a vehicle where the intended path of travel is systematically evaluated. The first searching range is the target area range, which is the same space from your vehicle to the target area. You search this range to detect early any conditions that might affect your intended path of travel. Next, you will search the 12 to 15 second range, which is the space you will travel in during the next 12 to 15 seconds. This range is where you need to identify changes in your line of sight or path of travel to make decisions about controlling your intended path. Try to identify possibility of closed zones by searching to the left and right. The 4-6 range is the space you will travel during the next 4 to 6 seconds. In this range, you need to get the final update of how you are controlling your intended path of travel. Orderly visual search pattern. You can use any of several patterns to help develop your own identifying process. An orderly visual search pattern is a process of searching critical areas in a regular sequence. To use an orderly visual search pattern, look for clues in and around your intended path of travel in a systematic manner. Below is an example of orderly visual search pattern for straight ahead driving. 1. Look ahead to your targeted area range. 2. Evaluate your left front, and right front zones in the 12 to 15 second range. Search driveways and intersections for possible changes in your line of sight and path of travel. 3. Glance in the rearview mirror to check your rear zones. 4. Evaluate your 4 to second range before entering that space. 5. Look ahead again to evaluate another 12 to 15 second range. 6. Check your 4 to 6 second range. 7. Glance in the rearview mirror. 8. Check your speedometer and gauges. You will repeat this pattern continually as you move forward. Each look or glance should last only an instant as you evaluate your zones in the areas to your left and right. Be careful not to stare as you search. Practice using your orderly visual search pattern as a passenger in addition to when you are driving, so it will become a safe driving habit. You will then be able to adjust your search pattern for any maneuver or driving environment. Aspects of vision. Different driving environments and traffic situations present a variety of visual search problems. As you gain driving experience, you will learn what kinds of clues and situations are most important to identify in order to keep an open zone in your path of travel. The primary aspects of vision necessary for driving include central vision, peripheral vision, and depth perception. The area you can see around your you while looking straight ahead is called your field of vision. Many of us can see an area of about 90 degrees to each side for a total picture of 180 degrees. The area you can see clearly and sharply is seen with your central vision. This is a narrow cone of only up to 10 degrees. The area you can see to the left and the right of the central vision is your side vision or peripheral vision. As your distance from central vision increases towards the outer edge of peripheral vision, the less clearly you can identify clues and events. Depth perception, or the ability to judge the relative distance of objects correctly, is especially important for driving. You must be able to judge distances correctly in order to pass and follow vehicles and judging stopping distances. You should always look ahead 12 to 15 seconds into your target area as you drive. Looking far ahead with your line of sight will help you identify clues and analyze situations before your zone becomes closed. There are many restrictions to your line of sight, such as curves, hills, large vehicles, weather conditions, buildings, trees, or even a dirty windshield. Scanning. Develop the art of scanning, glancing continually and quickly or brief fixations through your orderly visual search pattern. You are looking and seeing if you scan, but not staring at one event or clue. Staring blocks outside vision causes lack of attention and tends to create high-risk driving habits. Keep your eyes moving helps you stay more alert with your attention at a higher level. You are then more likely to keep up with all the changes in your field of vision. Selective seeing. Knowing where and how to look does little good if you do not know what to look for in your target area. Develop the technique of selective seeing in your identifying process. Selective seeing means that you identify and select only those clues and events that restrict your line of sight or can change your intended path of travel. Look for open zones. Use your visual search pattern to look for specific driving-related clues that might cause an open zone to close. You might identify exhaust coming from a tailpipe or a driver sitting in a car, indicating that a car might be about to enter your path or travel and cause your front zone to close. The kind of clues you search for will change as you drive in different environments. When driving in the city, search for intersections, parked cars, pedestrians, and traffic. On open highways, search areas much farther ahead. Look for crossroads, slow-moving vehicles, and animals. Any of these can suddenly cause an open zone to close, resulting in the need to change your intended path of travel or reduce your speed. When you drive on expressways, speeds are higher, and scanning all zones become even more critical. Regardless of the driving environment, you should always look for other roadway users, roadway features, changing conditions, and traffic controls that may affect your intended path of travel. Look for other users. Look for other users who might affect your intended path of travel. Watch for movement of other roadway users, especially in areas that have shadow or shade. Watch for pedestrians and bicyclists. A large truck is easy to identify, however, it creates a restriction in your line of sight and may prevent you from seeing another user. Develop the habit of ground viewing as part of your visual search pattern. Ground viewing is making quick glances to the roadway in front of your vehicle. When other vehicles are approaching, use ground viewing to see where they are headed by checking the direction of their front wheels. Always be on the lookout for problem drivers who speed, and drivers who pass without enough room or a no passing zone are problem drivers. Others frequently change lanes, try to get ahead of the normal traffic flow, and can cause a sudden change in your open zone condition. Look for roadway features and conditions. The roadway itself is another important area to watch. Identify intersections, hills, and curbs early. Be aware ahead of time that the width of your lane might be reduced for road construction or other obstacles. An intersection is a high-risk area where the management of your path of travel needs constant attention. Stop traffic or entering traffic can cause line-of-sight restrictions or even a closed zone. A hill is a line-of-sight restriction that could hide a closed zone as you go over the hill. Change from multi-lane to single-lane. Multi-lane roads often narrow into single-lane roads. Identify signs warning you of this change early enough to avoid a closed zone in your intended path. When signs indicate roadway repair ahead, you can expect your front zone to close. Check your left front, right front, and rear zones before moving into the through lane. Drivers who wait until the last instant and then try to squeeze into the through lane are demonstrating high-risk behavior with no concern for other drivers. Change in width lanes. Standing water, patches of snow, potholes, or objects in the road can cause an open zone to close. Identify the conditions early and then check your rear zone to find out if there will be a problem if a stop is needed. Roadway surface. Identify the roadway surface and condition each time you begin to drive. There will be times when the weather will change while you are driving. Roadway surfaces may be dry when you start out and then become wet and slippery with rain, snow, or ice as you are driving. Be prepared to adjust your driving for changing weather conditions that might affect the roadway surface. A gravel surface can cause sliding or skidding, just like a wet or slippery surface. Roadside hazards. Your identification process should keep you scanning for bicyclists, pedestrians, parked vehicles, and animals. Watch for shopping center entrances and exits, roadside stands, and restaurants. Other drivers can appear from almost any location and cause your open zone to close. Continual scanning of your target areas will help you identify these other drivers in time to avoid sudden actions or conflict. Look for traffic controls. Learn to look in different places for traffic controls. At major intersections, controls can be overhead in the center of the road or on a corner. Identify traffic controls as early as possible so you are ready to respond appropriately. Predict. Once you have identified a hazard, predict how this hazard might affect your intended path of travel. When you predict, you take the information you have identified and imagine what might happen. You predict where possible points of conflict may occur. Your predictions will be based upon those conditions that could reduce your line of sight or change your intended path of travel. If you had to face just one hazard at a time, you could more easily predict the possible outcome. However, most of the time you will be faced with more than one possible hazard or conflict, so predicting can become more complex. How to predict. Predicting involves what is happening in your zones, what could happen, and if it does happen, how the change could affect you. To predict, you must evaluate the situation and make a judgment about the possible consequences. The more complex the situation is, the more difficult it is to identify and predict. As you gain driving experience, you will become more selective about which hazards or possible conflicts are critical. Scanning your target area can help you predict hazards that may affect your path of travel. Your ability to predict and make sound judgments will improve as you gain knowledge and experience. What to predict. Nearly all predictions you make as a driver will be related to predicting changes in zones and looking for an alternate path of travel. 3 major elements in the traffic scene that you must make predictions about are the actions of other roadway users, your control of your vehicle, and the consequences of your actions. Predicting actions of others. Do not assume other roadway users will always take the correct action. Instead, watch for clues to what they might do to alter zone conditions. The most important type of predictions to make concerning the actions of others are path, where might the other driver go, what zone might be closed, and will I have an open zone for escape. Action. What action will other users take? If more than one action possible, where will I be then? Space. Will I have an open zone? Point of conflict. If I haven't no open zone for escape, where might our paths cross and a conflict occur? Imagine that you are driving toward an intersection in Figure 9. The oncoming driver is signaling for a right turn, assuming the worst, and predict that the driver will turn left into your front zone. Also predict that the pedestrians will step off the curb and close your right front zone. By making these predictions, you will be able to slow, swerve, or stop in order to avoid a conflict. Predicting control of your vehicle. Speed is probably the most important factor in maintaining control of your vehicle. Always be prepared to adjust your speed for different zone conditions and situations. Different traffic, roadway, and weather conditions can change the amount of time and space needed for safe reactions. The basic requirement for vehicle control is traction. Traction is the actual gripping power between the tires and the roadway surface. The more traction there is, the greater the gripping power. In Figure 10, the driver knows the roadway is icy and wet and that visibility is restricted by the weather. The driver should predict the stopping will take longer than if the roadway were dry. Based on this prediction, the driver should check the rear zone and then slow and brake earlier. Knowledge. One basic part of your driving knowledge comes from the study of traffic laws and driver education material. Whenever you drive, you also gain knowledge by gathering more information and learning from others. Think of storing driving knowledge as adding to your safe driving memory bank. The more you drive, the more you add to your memory bank of knowledge. This knowledge will help you identify and predict more quickly and accurately to increase your chances of becoming a low-risk driver. Judgment. Making a judgment about a traffic situation involves measuring, comparing, and evaluating. As you drive, you judge speed, time, space, distance, traction, and visibility. You make judgments about your own driving performance as well as the actions and performance of other roadway users. Make every effort to develop the ability to make sound judgments that lead to accurate predictions. Experience. In addition to knowledge, experience helps you improve your ability to predict accurately. Exposure to a wide variety of driving experiences provide a solid base for making sound judgments later. In many situations, you may have a choice of action to predict. Try to judge and compare the possible consequences before deciding on the best action.